Bring back rock. Hey everybody, it's Dean. Welcome to Bring Back Rock. Today we're talking about Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction. I wore the shirt a couple of videos ago, but since this band we're talking about, I busted out. Yes, the Psychotronic Love Commandos themselves. A couple things right up front. I mean, this was a band everybody knew was going to be huge, but as we know, things don't always go as planned in rock and roll. So a couple things up front real quick, and then I'll get started. First off, if you're not familiar with what's happening with Mark Manning right now, Zodiac Mindwarp himself, I'm going to give you an update on that. It's a couple years old, but it's really, really interesting. It's something you'd think would only happen in a movie. It's like this, it really happens in real life. We wouldn't believed it. And tragic. So going to give you an update on that probably like towards the end of the description, just before the music samples kick in. And number two, if you ever seen an interview with Zodiac Mindwarp, he comes off very aloof, almost disinterested. It's hard to get a straight answer from him. Once in a while he will open up, but a lot of times he's just like I said, aloof is a good word. Very aloof. Although when you read his books or read something he's written, it's very loquacious. So huge difference between written word and spoken when you're interviewing him. Here's the thing though. It's very hard to tell. What is 100% truth? What is 100% BS? What has a sliver of truth, but is mostly exaggerated and embellished? And what is mostly true, but still exaggerated or embellished quite a bit? So it's really hard to tell. I tried to find things that were, like, had a common thread, maybe told a story twice that was different, but there are certain things that were the same, whatever. It's almost impossible to figure out what's fact and what's fiction with Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction. I did my best. You can blame them for me having such a hard time. All right, let's get to it. This is Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction. Oh, and we cannot forget the poll results. We did this, came up with it around May the 4th. So you said what had to be in the poll question?
I said we gotta have Star Wars in there.
And what band did you say?
Journey.
And so then I threw in Foreigner. So we have Star Wars, Journey, and Foreigner as your choices. Who do you think's gonna win?
I think Star Wars is gonna win because I think it's a little more popular than the other bands.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll check back at the end of the video and yeah.
Give you those results at the end of the video.
Yep.
All right, real quick before we get started on the history of Zodiac Mindwarp, let me play the first 30 seconds of their debut album. This is a time when Poison and Bon Jovi were ruling the airwaves, and this album starts with this.
Listen here, wolf child. I speak to you of the science of mythology. I speak of maverick deviation, the psychotronic love commandos. We shall be drunk on stars, we shall fear nothing. Demand the impossible. Dream your destiny. Defy the logic of alphabets. I slayed the king of the wolves. Nothing is impossible.
All right, then it immediately builds up and kicks into their most popular song, Prime Mover. Now, if you heard that, you know you're not in for the same old, same old. The only album I can think of that really started out like that and grabbed your attention was Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil, when they started out with In the Beginning. Kind of the same thing. I'm sure there's others, so if there are, let me know what they are in the comments. All right, now on to the description of the band. Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction were a hard rock, sleaze rock, metal band that formed in the UK in 1985. The brainchild of Zodiac himself, Mr. Mark Manning. He was a graphic artist at the magazine Flexipop, but after seeing all the rock stars come through, models come through, living this hedonistic lifestyle, he said, that's for me. I want to be a rock star. So he called the person that he knew the most about being a rock star, Youth, his buddy from the band Killing Joke. Now, apparently, him and Youth went to an island off of Spain, loaded with acid, alcohol, and other drugs, couldn't find a place to stay, slept out in the wild for a couple days, and he didn't come home knowing how to be a rock star, but he did come home with a name, Zodiac Mindwarp. He got it from the 1960s underground comic. In another interview, he said that he wrote the entire first album in a cave overlooking the ocean with nothing but a harmonica, and then had to come back and teach the guys how to write it. I don't know if that's the same story, but you just get different things from them at different times. So now Mark has a name, Zodiac Mindwarp, and he goes and demos a song called Wild Child, which may or may not have been at his friend's home studio, a musician from the Southern Death Cult, kind of a post-punk goth band. Anyway, this demo helps get him some management, and they record a proper version of the song with studio musicians. And he ends up with a hit single on the indie charts. So now he needs a band. I've heard a couple stories this way, but there's a kind of line of truth that runs through both of them, so I'm going to do my best. So he needs a proper band, and he makes a wish. Maybe. Or maybe not. Either way, pieces start falling into place. There was a band that he thought sounded like crap, but their drummer was great. Now the band soon breaks up, and Zodiac snares a drummer, no pun intended. So Slam Thunderhide was born, and Zodiac has a drummer. Next, he's dating a stripper. Mark Manning, Zodiac Mindwarp, dating a stripper, who has a friend who's also a stripper, who's dating a guy who's a guitarist. So a meeting is set up, and he says, can you play like Eddie Van Halen? Oh, the hammer on? No problem. Can you play like so-and-so? Yep, got it. You're in the band. And this guy was actually Jeff Bird. He was in a lot of pop bands. He played bass for Wham, if you can believe that. Anyway, he is rechristened Cobalt Stargazer, and he brings his Les Paul, which is called the Sleaze Grinder, with him. Now all they need is a bass player, and lo and behold, a letter comes to Zodiac saying, I'm going to be your bass player. It's from a 17-year-old kid. He's in the band, and he is christened as Kid Chaos. Now, everybody in Britain who saw and heard Zodiac Mindwarp knew they were going to be the next big thing, including the Cult, who became big fans of them. Such big fans that the Cult decided they needed Kid Chaos in their band, and he left Zodiac Mindwarp to join the Cult. Now, Zod, whatever you want to call him, Zodiac Mindwarp took 20 years to forgive Kid Chaos for leaving the band. And also, towards the end here, you're going to find out what's happening with Kid Chaos now, and you're not going to believe it. So Trash D Garbage took over on bass. He had Trash D Garbage on bass, Slam Thunderhide on drums, a new rhythm guitarist called Flash Bastard. He joined the bands, which was also Zodiac Mindwarp on vocals and Cobalt Stargazer. They released The High Priest of Love, an EP that went to #1 on the independent charts. Now it was time for their major label debut full-length album. Tattooed Beat Messiah was released in 1988 and went to number 20 on the UK charts, but they wanted to break in the US. To do so, they needed the US label head to be on board 100%. Their image was very inspirational, basically badass bikers decked out in animal furs and black leather, which kind of soon became a thing with bands like Junkyard, Circus of Power, also all tattooed up. They even inspired Guns N' Roses, and rumor has it Motley Crue. If you look at Girls, 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 Zodiac had been around for about a year since then, and their first promo pictures I remember had Nikki Sixx in leather, even some fur prints, kind of like a glam version of Zodiac Mindwarp. All right, so if you know 70s biker culture, there was a lot of German military influence. Iron crosses, stormtrooper helmets. No, not that. Stormtrooper helmets, Kaiser helmets, whatever you want to call them. Kind of very big in the biker culture at the time. So now the head of the U.S. label comes over to see what all the fuss is about with this band, and they want to get them behind them 100% so they can break in the U.S. Well, let's just say all the German military imagery didn't really go over well with the Jewish head of the label. Go figure. They did get their video on MTV Headbangers Ball, Prime Mover, and they did tour on a fairly decent tour, a triple bill that featured Alice Cooper, Guns N' Roses, and Zodiac Mindwarp. After a few shows, Zodiac actually jumped GNR, so it was Alice Cooper, Zodiac Mindwarp, and then Guns N' Roses opening the show. I thought they came by me with Ace Frehley opening, but it was a long time ago. I might be wrong because I actually didn't make the show, which I'm still pissed off about. Apparently, Zodiac did not have great feelings towards GNR. Called them a name I'm not going to repeat right here, but then Cobalt quickly chimed in and said, hey, come on, some of them are all right. So they obviously had trouble with somebody on the touring, the Guns N' Roses camp. Well, Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction only gained a cult following in the US. They released videos for Prime Mover, like I said, which was infamous and controversial, and Backseat Education. Between some of the songs were awesome, rambling speeches, poems, whatever they were. Mark, Zed, said there will be a prize for anyone who can decipher what the hell I was talking about, because I have no idea. They just left the mic on for his drunken ramblings, apparently. And there's a few of those. Some are funny, some are interesting, some are weird, whatever. They're scattered throughout the record. Without big sales in the U.S., the band was eventually dropped. Their second album, Hoodlum Thunder, came out in 1991. It had a more commercial sound, less sleazy feel, but still had some really great songs. But their red-hot hype had died down. They released an EP, My Life Story, in 1993. In 1994, they released their third album, One More Knife. I should mention there are many frequent lineup changes, Mark Manning and Cobalt Stargazer being the only constant members, although bassist Jack Schitt, S-C-H-I-T-T, was with them for their last two albums, and drummer Robbie Baum was with them for 3. Now, One More Knife was a bit heavier, a bit darker, filled with great songs. Reminded me a little bit of Monster Magnet, which I hear Zodiac Mindwarp was an inspiration to. Now, we thought that was their swan song, but the band returned with I Am Rock in 2002, a return to their sleazy roots, and followed that up in 2006 with Rock Savage. Now, once again, after Rock Savage, I personally thought they were finished, but no. A new drummer, Kat, helped facilitate a record deal with Steamhammer Records, this time a concept record. Well, as Zodiac said, he only had half a concept. He has very much into Norse mythology at the time, and a large chunk of that album deals with that concept. He really related to the stories and the gods in mythology who, unlike the Christian God and most other modern religions, were not perfect, not loving humans. They were very fallible and very often quite petty. So in 2010, We Are Volsung was released on Steamhammer Records. And that will be the final Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction album, for reasons I'll get to soon. Now, if you read any of his books, Mark Manning, Zodiac really paints the band as a bunch of the most sexually deviant band ever, reveling in their alcoholism and drug use, sharing graphic stories which may or may not be true. Zed may or may not have been stabbed in the hand by a girl famous in the UK for being the face of Orangina Orange Drink. And he also, here's another one, participated in a knife-throwing contest during a child's Easter egg hunt, Easter party. Another one, he used to carry a sword around with him, and at one point, he sliced a table in two when he took exception to the drunks at the table next to him. He was probably even more drunk and effed up, but you know. And the book contains many extremely unpredictable tales. Seriously, I would not repeat the tales. I felt like I needed a shower after reading them, quite honestly. Okay, where are they now? Cobalt Stargazer, married in 2010. He's still playing. Last I knew it, the band called Kings of Kawasaki. Kid Chaos, as I mentioned, had stints with the Cult and formed the Four Horsemen. Then it was off to college with them, where he got a degree and is now a practicing physician. I don't know the specialty, although Mark inferred that the specialty was proctology, which I'm not sure if that's true. Probably not. And that brings us to Mark Manning, Zodiac Mindwarp himself. He wrote a bad advice column for the Idler magazine. He's a painter. He's a poet. He co-wrote or wrote 9 books. I should mention he was almost kicked out of his own band because he took the advance and spent it on comic books and beer. He's a huge comic fan. As a matter of fact, when he signed his record deal, he made them include a Silver Surfer #1 with the deal. Now, here's the crazy part I talked about at the beginning. In 2022, he was visiting his ex and her husband, and he had a major seizure which had left him incapacitated. As a matter of fact, it's left him with only a 10-minute memory. He retained his memories from prior to the seizure, but like I said, was left with only a 10-minute memory. Worse yet, he's fallen through the cracks of the health system in the UK. He was checked on once about needing help, but since he doesn't remember that he had a seizure and only has a 10-minute memory, he said he was fine and he didn't need any help. Boom, case closed. So his ex and her husband have been taking care of him since 2022, even through her own bout of cancer. She says it's a terrible shock to him every time he learns of his condition. As of March 2026, they are still trying to get government help for his care. So he only remembers the last 10 minutes and what happened prior to 2022. Hopefully, as this gets out, hopefully the UK government will get their heads out of their asses and get him the help he needs. All right, so that's a bit on Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction. Here are some music samples. I'll catch up with you at the end.
else is in sequence. Well, I believe there's poetry in the soul of every man. In F111 fighters and Roberto Duran. There's poetry in the leather that he wears like big man trucks. Poetry in the little pictures drawn a million bucks, baby. Na 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 na, God is heaven. Na 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 na, he's wearing blue suede shoes. Na 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 na, God is heaven. Na 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 na, and else died for you. There's poetry on the air. I'm gonna tattoo your ass. Gonna make you sing like glass. I'm gonna kiss you and feel you. Caress and undress you. I'm gonna shake you. All night long. I'm gonna shake you. All night long. I'm gonna love you till you bleed. I'm gonna feed you what you need. I'm gonna kiss you and feel you. Caress and undress you. Consecrated by the Reverend James Brown. I just drove out of crazy town. You talk about life, case and injection. A steel cage jockey with a starboard connection. Drop your halo, baby, I got a mission. Got the key to your ignition. I'm driving on holy gasoline, yeah. Baby, I'm driving on holy gasoline, yeah. Come on. Complicated girl just like a crossword clue. But I said the puzzle, baby, I love.
All right, so that's a little bit about Zodiac Mindwarp and the Love Reaction. Really crazy what's going on with Zodiac Mindwarp, Mark Manning. It's tragic, it really is. So that's a little bit what's happening there. Where can you find them? On the streaming services, you can find a re-recording of Prime Mover and We Are Volsung, that album. Everything else, you just got to get through the secondary market. Some have been re-released. Tattoo Beat Messiah has been re-released. Nothing super expensive. All the CDs I saw were under $50. With a lot of them, you can get, in the $15 to $25 range, somewhere in there. So not super hard to go and buy those or get those. Like I said, except on the streaming services where they just are not on them. So, all right, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch up with you on the next episode. All right, and for the poll results, who did we have in there?
We had Star Wars because it was May the 4th, aka Star Wars Day. Then we had Journey, and then we had Foreigner.
Foreigner, that's right. So,
Foreigner.
in third place, with 21%, we had Foreigner. At 29% in second place was Journey. Both those are pretty close. I thought they'd be fairly close. And the winner, kind of in a walkaway, with 50% was
Star Wars.
Star Wars took the title. So Star Wars at 50%.
I kind of knew that was going to happen.
So there we go. They are the winner. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
See ya. Bye.